From even more of that delicious cherry grove biome, and just some intriguing horse changes to the sniffer. Since the initial hyped up snapshot video, I've taken some time to study, learn, and evolve, and when it comes to all of the new big features, I've learned so much. And today we're going to talk what we missed and what I've learned. Let's do this. Alright, so I guess I should lead into things by saying, if you're new here, like new to the planet, new to the channel, new to any of that stuff, you're going to want to check out this snapshot video first, because you're going to be like so confused. Today we will begin with Minecraft's most mysterious feature. In the snapshot video, it took me a little bit of time to figure this stuff out. Oh, hey, I don't like that. Yikes. So, as with the very first archaeology snapshot, 23W07A, we're going to have archaeology taking place in two different structures, and that's it. Structure number one, we got the desert pyramid. One thing that we did discover is the fact that the desert pyramid, for the first time in like 10 years, has been updated. I checked desert pyramid after desert pyramid, and it seems like the update is basically the same every single time. Meaning, like, at least at this point, there's one new version of the desert temple. There's not like a secret room over there sometimes, and then sometimes it's over there, and then one time it's over there. It seems like it's consistently going to be in this back corner. However, the sand is going to be a little bit different every single time. So the sand is a big giveaway. If we move into the desert pyramid and move to the back corner, start digging the sand out, eventually it is inevitable. We will find the brand new sus sand block. Alright, so it seems like the generation, this part of the desert temple, it's gonna be different. Sometimes the floor will be filled in a little bit more, sometimes it won't, and I guess sometimes you're gonna have sandstone kind of filling it in too. I do feel like there should be more excavation going on here. It shouldn't just be this one room. I mean, taking a look at the desert pyramid here, there's kind of a lot of room. We got unused space on the top floor and in the side things. I would absolutely love to see these side tower things maybe extend downwards into another excavation room, and then maybe, why not make things symmetrical? After all, it already is, so maybe take this room and duplicate it. Put it on the other side too. Head to the desert pyramid, down over to the back room, excavate it a little bit, and eventually you find a sus sand. You start brushing away sus sand, and every single time, no matter what, you will get something. If you stop brushing while you're getting something, it will slowly move back into the block. It's so cool. Now, I have to be careful because sus sand is gravity affected. That's another thing I learned. Oh, yeah, the shard. That's kind of like the big prize, but it's definitely not the only. When it comes to archaeology and the wonderful structure behind us, when you're doing your sharding, there are 7 potential things you can find inside of this pyramid. These things, as far as I'm aware, are all weighted the same, which means as of right now, you're going to have an equal chance to find the bow shard or maybe a piece of gunpowder. Now, in the time since the snapshot, I had a little bit of time to dig into this week's preview as well. Aside from the lack of all of that amazing cherry stuff over on Bedrock and one small sniffer parity difference that we'll talk about later, everything else seems to be exactly the same. Every single time you dig out a sus sand block, you will get something, unless somebody placed it down. The one different thing that I did find over here though, lads, has to do with the block itself. Just like on Java, we use the brush on the block and it will slowly go away. However, unlike on Java, the item is revealed a little bit less. And once you finish brushing, the block is done, so it's gone. How do we feel about this? Do we like the Java one where it just pops the normal sand back? Or do we like the Bedrock one a little bit more, where the sand is gone? I think I like the Bedrock more. The structure that initially I could not figure out until I completely ruined it was the desert well. When you find the desert well, you're gonna have to do digging. First things first, move in the middle, drop a sponge or just get rid of the water, and right off the bat, sus sand, it's all over the place right inside of this thing. I don't know how I missed it before. Now, the loot that you're gonna find from the sus sand inside of this well is actually gonna be completely different than the loot that you're gonna find inside of the pyramid. Look at that stick. It's miserable. When it comes to our sharding over at the desert well, which by the way is the technical name for finding shards in Minecraft, you've got this loot. This time, it's weighted towards the shard right here, which means that's gonna be a little bit more common than the rest of this stuff. Next up, I would like to move on to the brush. Let's talk about that a little bit. So first things first, we'll just drop some sus sand down. Nothing's going to be inside of this thing, but we'll go ahead and use the brush a little bit. Of course, as we start to use the brush, it will take durability damage. The brush in total has 64 durability, so really not very much. My first thought about this thing, after dropping the snapshot video, was enchantments. Sometimes when there's such a big snapshot, it's like chaotic and hectic inside of my brain, as you maybe noticed. I didn't think to check this, but enchantments, unfortunately, no. There are no enchantments right now. However, I feel like that should totally be changed. Alongside maybe copper inside of the recipe instead of the 2 sticks, maybe we should be able to enchant this with efficiency, unbreaking, and maybe mending too. What do you think? So that was a quick one. Moving on to the brand new, wonderful, much improved pot item, including the shards on the faces. So first things first, we'll talk about crafting recipes. Check this out. If you put the shards inside of the crafting table like this, you're gonna end up with a pot that looks like that. If we go ahead and swap these around, of course in this grid you're only gonna be able to see those 2 faces, but by swapping these around, it will definitely actually change the pot itself. This is one we definitely did know about, but by swapping in maybe a couple bricks into this recipe, the pot becomes blank on some sides. A highly requested feature that I'm seeing is being able to dye these pots as well with maybe terracotta, but hey, that's trash. I swear, if they make it dyeable with terracotta, I'll quit Minecraft. I'll uninstall it. I'll never play again. Who in their right mind wants the blue with terracotta pot to look purple? This is not blue. This is purple. Instead, I think the better system for dyeable pots, which absolutely need to be here, is including a dye in this crafting recipe front and center. I feel not only would this make sense with how you dye things in the rest of the game, but it also is another use for dyes. When it comes to shard combinations that you can make any of them. You could have a bunch of the same shards in one single pot. It really doesn't matter. Another thing I've discovered about this is it's rotational. If we place it down, like looking at it on that side, we get that standing man right there. If we go ahead and turn this way and place it down, we still get the standing man. Essentially, whatever shard you put in the bottom of that crafting recipe, it seems like it's going to be the front side of this pot. Right now, we have a total of 4 shards, but I'm willing to bet that there's going to be more shards in the future. Take a look at all these shards, maybe like this one, or just all of them, and tell me if you notice anything. If you notice anything off. If you notice it, you're genius. These pots will not, do not, and cannot stack. They will never stack in your inventory. Another wonderful idea that I had when it comes to dyeing these pots is, instead of a crafting grid, kind of boring, lame, why not do it like that one wonderful archeology mod where you place the pot down and then you use the dye on it. So you're essentially like painting the pot with that dye, and then it becomes that color. And then to undo that, maybe like a water bottle on it, or like splash water or something to remove all of the dye. That would be such an interesting mechanic. Also, if you do it this way, maybe you could do each face a different color too. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Final one for the pot today is a little build hack for you. And check this out. We place the big pot, we put the little pot. And I mean, it's a little glitchy looking, but oh, it's clever. Doing this makes it look like you can put plants in that big pot. Moving on from archaeology and all that stuff to a Minecraft 1.19.4 feature that I didn't really get to talk about in that initial video. This is technically a parity feature with Bedrock Edition. Coming to Java in the 1.19.4 update, when you play a music disc inside of a jukebox, that jukebox will emit a redstone signal of 15 if hooked straight up to a redstone line. This does not change that comparator jukebox functionality. Yeah, so if you didn't know, every music disc lets out a different signal strength with a comparator, but small problem. I was looking at the wiki and I think we're out of space, or we're about to be out of space. We're maxed out on signal strength versus discs. What happens in the future? Or is this the last update? Another stunningly beautiful jukebox change involves hoppers. That's right, at long last, hoppers can actually interact with the jukebox. This is game-breaking stuff right here. Check this out. If I move into this top chest right here, put this right there, as soon as I exit, listen. Oh, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. The hopper takes the disc and moves it right into the jukebox. Now, out of curiosity, let's say maybe you wonder what happens if you queue it up. You put another one in here. Well, basically, this one's gonna finish playing. Then as soon as it's done, this hopper will take that out and put it inside of the chest, and this one will pop right in. If you hooked maybe a comparator up to this chest right here, you could have a signal to let you know, like, as soon as the disc is done playing or something. I don't know. It's beautiful. Welcome to the future. Sniffer functionality is here, but it's also not here at all. I mean, the thing is kind of implemented, and it's beautiful. The animation, the sounds, the model, all of it. I love it. I'm obsessed with this thing. Now, in multiple spots, the devs, or Mojang in general, have stated that this is the first iteration of the sniffer, which means, at the least, we're going to see some changes to it, probably in the form of eggs, but who knows? Maybe even more functionality, too, like different seeds, kind of from those leaks. Anyways, the sniffer's big thing is, of course, walking around, sniffing, and eventually digging out a seed. Every single time, when it digs out a seed that it's found, it will throw itself dramatically onto the ground and then start digging. This is absolutely amazing. This update, just everything about it, I'm like obsessed with it. I'm so in love. Now, an interesting thing about the sniffer, I do believe that the sniffer will keep track of which blocks it's already found a seed in, which means because this sniffer found a seed in either that block or that block right there, it's not going to try and dig in that block again. That will complicate farms a little. Curiously, there is no sniffer egg in the snapshot, but it was revealed that you'll be able to find it in excavation sites. I'm reading this in one of two ways. Option 1, the egg just isn't finished. Option number 2, we're going to get that archaeology site at the ocean ruin, or something like that with a sniffer egg. I wonder which it is. A pretty wide load of a snapshot feature that I did briefly mention in the first snapshot video. It has to do with horses. You can actually breed them now. Well, more like breeding horses, it's actually worth your time now. Admittedly, when it comes to horse breeding, it's still pretty complex. Maybe this was worth like an everything series episode or something, but basically, you would breed 2 horses and get a worse horse. It sucked. Metaphorically speaking, unless you wanted to go down to the mines and literally grind it out, getting a better horse before would have been near impossible. Now it's not. Breeding 2 good horses together will now more often produce an even better horse. It's beautiful. So in our first snapshot adventure from last week, the cherry grove biome, we gotta dove all into this thing, talked all about it. I pretty much covered everything. When it comes to this biome and the properties of it, there aren't any like real secrets or anything like that. It's a mountain biome with beautiful trees. Being so high up in the mountains, if you're lucky and you get this as your first spawn, of course you're going to be able to find more coal because that generates more iron because it generates more, and, you know, being in a mountain, maybe a little bit of emerald as well. One thing I didn't show off, you might be curious about, is the watercolor, and oh, Chef's Kiss is beautiful. The water tone inside of this biome is literally the embodiment of perfection. It's wonderful, it's so good looking. I already know I'm claiming this to be my base biome in 1.20, but like, it just gets even better. Speaking about making things even better, these flowers right here, what happens when I bone meal them? Well, kind of like sea pickles, when you bone meal one that isn't full already, it'll add one to the thing. We do it again, we get one more, and again, we get one more. After that, if we keep bone mealing this, just like with those 2 tall flowers, you get more flowers. So yes, you can definitely duplicate these things. They're renewable. Another thing you might be curious about here is the ground inside of this biome. Let's say I were to clear out all of these flowers and then bone meal the ground. Do I get more? I don't know if you could tell, but you absolutely do. We'll go ahead and clear it out, run the simulation again, and more pink flowers. The pink petals all over the ground. It's so good. I'm just so happy with all of this, this whole snapshot. It's so high quality. Top tier snapshot. Speaking of bone meal, you may be curious what happens when you bone meal a leaf here, and nothing happens when you bone meal a tree leaf. It's not like mangrove. Here's an interesting bit of biome generation stuff from Alexander, a Minecraft dev. This is from a small thread between Alexander and Prowl the Great on Cherry Grove biome placement. When it comes to this new grove biome, you can think of it as a Voronoi diagram, and what would happen if you added a new point somewhere. So I think essentially what's going on here is when we have a cherry grove biome, it's not really going to disrupt other biomes that usually wouldn't be over here. So like, let's say, I don't know, a Badlands biome. Instead, what it's going to do is eat up some of that old forest, some of whatever would have been here before, maybe just like more forest or a meadow or something, and voila. And admittedly, these trees are one of these things that I could probably do a little bit more science on, like kind of show off how the logs generate, things like that. But one thing that I wanted to point out, I saw it on Twitter actually, is the idea that you should be able to chop these trees down, and then kind of like with the oak trees where they randomly drop apples sometimes, these things should totally be able to drop cherries. Imagine the cherry, I mean, it literally makes sense. It's literally a cherry tree. The cherry tree should not only have cherry wood, but also, it should also drop cherries. Sapling drop rate from these trees seems pretty good, by the way. We love to see it. So clearly, the most recent snapshot was a pretty big snapshot, and technically speaking, there's a lot more. But where I think we're going to wrap it up today is with the allay. The allay, when it comes to its like the following AI, it's been improved. These improvements, I mean, the allay should do a whole lot better and faster of a job at following you. Yeah, but the big moment of truth, cherry saplings. How many? Oh, we got 6 from that one tree right there, and there's even more up there. Allay, I think you got a little bit more work to do. Yes, yes. Yeah, look at that. So many saplings from one tree. This is 1.20 is going to be the best update ever. I love everything about it. I love everything about it so much that I couldn't just pick one thing to make this video on. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. Smash like, subscribe for more. Big shout out to my patrons, Doug CK and Michael H, The Great Vegeta, and Infamous MC. You're the best. Now, I would like to end today's video with a tweet from one of my favorites, Potato Man of Minecraft. Lego literally showed us cherry blossoms a month before they were added. And then as we can see, we get a Lego set that is officially out right now. And sure enough, cherry blossoms. What do you think? Has Minecraft planned on adding the cherry girl biome to Minecraft for like a long time? Maybe even almost in a different update, or is it just a coincidence? You let me know down below, and that's it.